And this is lesson 13.7, found on page 610 in the textbook. And now we've got two forms of equations already. We had y equals mx plus b, which is slope-intercept form. We talked about the standard form, and now here's the third one. It's called point-slope form. A linear equation written in the form y minus y1 equals m times x minus x1 is in point-slope form. The line that passes through the point x1 and y1, and it has the slope of m. Okay, so let's see what they mean by this. If we want to write something in point-slope form, this y and this x are the y and the x from y equals mx plus b, or in the standard form, or the ax plus by equals c. And now we have that same y and x in here. So let's look. It's y minus something equals our slope times x minus something. So let's look what that means. Let's look for the slope first. And the slope of this line would be, let's look at an example down here. It says write in point slope form the equation. The line passes through this point and has this slope. So for the slope, we put that right in here, 2/3. Okay? Because we put it's y minus y1 equals slope times x minus x1. So we put our slope in place of m. And now we look for our y term. And our y term is this right here, our 1. So y minus 1. That goes right there. And over here, we put our x term, and our x term is -6. So we have to be careful because it's x minus -6. Well, we can simplify this a little bit. Y minus 1 equals 2/3 times x plus 6. Just taking those two and making it a plus. And then we leave it like this. What we don't want to do is then, let's solve for y. Well, that would just turn it into slope-intercept form. Okay, so we leave it like this, so it's in point-slope form. And let's see, yep, that's what they got. Y minus 1 equals 2/3 x plus 6. Here are some that we can do on our own. So remember, they're going to fit into this form. Y minus y1 equals slope times x minus x1. And sometimes they make that y and the x that are going to stay in the equation a little bit bigger so I don't make a mistake. So for number 1, we have y minus y1, that's our y term right there, 2, equals, the slope is -4, so I'll put that out here, -4, x minus, and now x1 is that 1. So there's number 1 in point slope form. For number 2, much the same. Y minus 0 equals 1 times x minus 7. And we can simplify that a little bit. This minus 0 would drop off to just be y. And this, multiplying anything by 1, just stays the same. So you'd have x minus 7. So you can see how quickly that turned into y equals mx plus b. But if we want to keep it in standard form, we will keep it looking like that. Okay? I need to have my y1, I need to have my slope represented. So don't simplify it down into slope-intercept form. Number 3, y minus, now our y1 is -5, so I'm going to put -5 in there. Be careful, we'll have to simplify that in a second. Equals -3/4 for our slope, x minus -8. And we'll simplify that in just a second as well. So this will become y plus 5 equals -3/4 x plus 8. So sometimes it might be useful, I guess, if they give us 1 point in the slope, But really, the time that this point-slope form becomes useful is if we just have 2 points. So write in slope-intercept form an equation of a line that passes through 2 points. Well, the first thing we're going to have to do is write it in point-slope. Point-slope form. So here we go. Let's see, here are the 2 points. So we have, for example 2, we have these 2 points. We've got 2, 4, and we've got 5, -2. And what we don't have is a slope. But given 2 points, we can find the slope. So remember that the slope equals change in y over change in x. So y2 minus y1 would be -2 minus 4 on the top, and then 5 minus 2 on the bottom, 5 minus 2, and that equals -6 over 3, which is the same as -2. Okay, so now we know our slope is -2. Well, now we can go back and write this in. Y minus y1 equals slope times x minus x1. And our slope is right there. So we have y minus something equals -2 x minus something. And now it doesn't matter which of these points we want to use because they'll simplify to the same thing. And I'm going to use this one because they're both positive terms. I just like that a little better, but if you chose to, you could use that one. We'll put -2 in place of y here, my y1. So, no, I'm sorry, we're going to use this one. We'll use 4 in place of my y1, and we'll use 2 in place of x1. There we go, right there. Now the directions were, now write it in slope-intercept form. Remember, this is called point-slope form. And we're going to write it in slope-intercept form, which is our y equals mx plus b. Y equals mx plus b is what we're going to try to turn that into. So now we have to start simplifying. First, we'll simplify this side and make it y minus 4 equals -2x. -2 times -2, positive 4. We'll add 4 to both sides to get y by itself, which is what we want. And we get y equals -2x plus 8. And now we've turned it into this form. Y equals -2x plus 8. And look at, here's the slope. And that is the slope that we found that this had earlier. And it crosses the y-axis at 8. Let's see what they got. Yep, y equals -2x plus 8. Here are some more on-your-own problems. And we're going to write them in slope-intercept form. But just like the last example, we're going to have to first write them in point-slope form. So first we'll take these problems and we'll turn them into y minus y1 equals mx minus x1. And then we'll take that form and turn it into y equals mx plus b. So let's start with this one right here. So number 4, the first thing we need to do is find the slope. We don't know the slope, so we'll find the slope. So we'll do -4 minus 1, -4 minus 1 over 3 minus 2. Nope, minus -2. 3 minus -2. That gives us -5 on the top and 5 on the bottom, which is a slope of -1. So now we can go into this form here. Y minus, and it doesn't matter which one we choose here. Let's just choose the first one. Our y term is 1 equals slope times x minus. Now, since we chose this for our y, we have to choose this for our x, -2. That's the same as y minus 1 equals -1 x plus 2. Multiply both things by -1 here, and we get y minus 1 equals -1 x minus 2. -1 times 2 is -2. And add 1 to both sides, and we're left with no room. That's what we're left with. Y equals -1 x minus 1. Okay, or we could just put negative x, but I kind of like to show the slope in there with a 1. Same kind of, so here's what we did. We took these 2 points, we turned them, we first found the slope, right here. Then we could take one of the points in the slope and put it into point-slope form. And then we can turn point-slope form into slope-intercept form by just solving for y. Number 5. Same steps, so we're going to find the slope first. Slope equals 3 minus negative 5. 3 minus negative 5 over negative 3 minus negative 5. Well, on the top, that's 3 plus 5, which is 8. And on the bottom, that's negative 3 plus 5, which will give us 2. And that simplifies to 4. So our slope is 4. Well, now we'll go back and we'll put y minus y1 equals slope x minus x1. And it'll be y minus y1, we'll use this, negative 5, equals, our slope is 4, x minus negative 5. And we'll simplify to y plus 5 equals, this is a big plus, 4x plus 20. So there's our, we're starting, here's our point slope form, but here we go, and we're going to turn this into slope-intercept, which is y equals mx plus b, and all we have to do now is subtract our 5 here, which leaves us with y equals 4x plus 15. So here's slope-intercept form. Last one, number 6. Find our slope. That equals 9 minus 6 over negative 2 minus negative 8, which is a big plus there. 9 minus 6 is 3. Negative 2 plus 8 is 6. That simplifies to 1/2. So our slope is 1/2 for this one. Our slope is 1/2. And now we'll turn it into y minus and y1. We can use this, negative y minus 6 equals, slope, we found to be 1/2, times x minus, and now it's minus a negative 8. Minus a negative 8 is the same as plus 8. So there's our point slope form, and we'll turn that into slope-intercept form. First, we'll simplify the right side to get y minus 6 equals 1/2 x plus 4. We'll add 6 to both sides to get y equals 1/2 x plus 10. And now we are in slope-intercept form. Y equals 1/2 x plus 10. And now if you've got a couple of minutes, I would recommend you go to page 612 in your textbook and work out maybe these odds right here, 7, 9, and 11. And those are right in point slope form. So they give you the point, they give you the slope. And then 13, 15, and 17, where you find the slope, you write these in point slope form, and then you change it to slope-intercept form by solving for y. And you'll have to do both of those things when you get to your homework, which is journal page 322 for lesson 13.7.